Kuati hopa, tau chamashe, thanu chamashe, tawai, okay, Numayuna, Rana Matana, Yuna Kuna the Thai, Waksha, Ika Wake Yuna, but next year Naya, Ustati, Notati, Katana Kopish Tire, no Ameku Saju, no Ome Straight Juke, okay, Hanime Nidrasi. Good afternoon, our Pueblo Laguna community members, people of Laguna. Again, in keeping with our efforts to provide communications, this again is our next video message, again to emphasize and to reinforce all our efforts that we've undertaken for your benefit of our safety, well-being, and protections of our Pueblo Laguna community, our people, our families. So with that, I'd like to begin with, again, very straightforward in today's message video is the emphasis on stay at home. The COVID-19 is at our borders with known cases in neighboring communities. This makes the risk even higher and again more crucial to stay at home. The best precaution for you and your households is to stay at home so you minimize your exposure to the virus. The virus doesn't move on its own. People move the virus. Be mindful of that. Some of the things that are helping to protect us are simple things such as wearing a face mask. You can spread the COVID-19 to others even if you do not feel sick. Everyone should wear a cloth face mask when they go out into the public, for example, to the grocery store or to get gas. Cloth face masks are not a substitute for social distancing. So social distancing, as we've emphasized, is still something that we want everyone to practice and adhere to. It is helping us in our efforts, and we ask you to be mindful of these protocols and precautions. Elders 55 years and older are provided face masks at the senior center and through the meal deliveries that they receive. So if you do need a face mask, reach out to our emergency team, reach out to the senior center personnel, and especially within your community, let each other know, where to procure those or share with one another. We are, again, emphasizing because we're very concerned, again, about gatherings. In our prior messages, we've encouraged and asked people to be very mindful of that. The Pueblo order is in effect until further notice. We've been getting calls and we've been getting questions from our community members as to when the curfew will be lifted. And we've been responding consistently, telling them that until further notice, this curfew that has been enacted as part of the executive order is in place. Do not take the chance of not complying. Our tribal officials at our villages and our law enforcement, public safety personnel, we're all trying to do our best to manage and oversee this curfew, but we need your help also. Let's take personal responsibility because it takes all of us. That's the way we're seeing a good outcome so far, and we need to encourage everyone, especially when you feel that urge that you need to get out. We're saying stay at home. When you're out and about for something that's very necessary, essential, make sure you're home in time to not be out of compliance with the curfew. And this is one of the main emphasis that this is helping, and we want to encourage everyone to maintain this, the curfew that we have in place. No gatherings, again, 5 people or more. We are concerned because we are hearing, and I'll be very honest and sincere, we are seeing community members not following these orders, and we're contemplating that it may cause us to now consider to put in place a full closure. That's something that will be very serious in regard to then probably manning checkpoints at our entrances to our villages and our main Pueblo access roads. And if we need to do that, we may have to do so. But so this encouragement again to everyone is to follow the order that's in place. It does not implement a full closure, but what it does is take the precautions we feel are necessary right now, but we need your help. And with everyone's help, we know we could maintain adherence to the closure, and it will provide for the protection, safety, and well-being that we're seeking in our Pueblo, in our villages, in our families, our homes. Our first responders need your help. They are tasked very heavily with having to not only manage the virus impacts to people, and of course with that we have to monitor beyond our borders. We get notifications of people, wanting to come to the Pueblo, but we have to work through those case by case, and they're doing a good job, but it's an endless effort lately. It's a continual effort that they undertake. The first line responders are people that are on the front lines. Please understand that we need your help to do what we can as people in our communities and our households to help this effort. Again, we say together we can work through this. Together we can get through this situation, and we ask you your patience, but also your understanding, and stay focused on what we have enacted, and we ask your compliance with that. So what I would do now is share with you, and I will go to a reading here that I'm going to provide to you. It's going to have a lot of reminders and a lot of considerations, just so we know what we're experiencing, and to try to share with you some of that information. Some of you will be able to relate directly to it, but others will take it, I know, under consideration that it's information that then causes us to think about how we can help this effort, but also how some are experiencing directly. We all are experiencing in some manner, and so I'll touch on a lot of these areas. So with that, I'm going to read what I've prepared here. And so Pueblos have put in place protective orders, curfews, and/or no access closures to tribal lands. These are necessary and are working to ensure the safety, protection, and well-being of our Pueblo people and communities. Tribal leaders have issued public health emergency proclamations and orders in line with federal and state mandates. These efforts, again, are necessary to minimize and/or eliminate the exposure and the spread of this contagious virus. Our Pueblo people have a strong sense of community and family values. The values we share in common are love, respect, compassion, obedience, discipline, and most of all, caring for one another. Our communities are encouraged to foster intergenerational relationships, again, to teach and pass on culture, language, and traditions from elders down to children and grandchildren. The immense scale and impact of this health emergency pandemic has disrupted our traditional ways and community relationships. We have to be grateful and that we are fortunate that our families and communities have not experienced how disruptive this can be to a household if someone should test positive. Again, think about that in regard to we've been having a good experience with what we have put in place, but we need to not allow that exposure and risk to our people, because when we talk about it being disruptive, we know in other places in the world, in our United States, in communities outside our borders, we all see and hear how this has really taken its toll on families and first line of medical providers. All these things that we're speaking to are very real, but we're fortunate again that in our Pueblo of Laguna, we have not seen that to that level, and that's our hope and prayer. We'll continue to be safe and protected. Some of the most pressing needs we experience are issues of multi-generational families needing to be quarantined. This is a real experience because we are having people tested. And in some cases, when people, of course, live in households, members of those families get tested. And what we know to be the protocol also is that anyone that has the COVID-19 virus test, needs to self-quarantine. Self-quarantine in home. We do have such facilities as the one that has opened up in Buffalo Thunder, which many of you are aware of. It's a low level, but it's one that's offered that can monitor while people are waiting their testing results or have maybe needing a low level of care at this point. So again, these are efforts that other Pueblos have also offered to other, Pueblos to utilize, and we're appreciative of that. Reliance on our local health providers, who are at times on the front lines, is very essential because they provide outreach and health checks to make sure families and individuals are receiving essential supplies. The other element that comes into play, and we have experienced that, when we do get a call, we do get a notification of potential or someone maybe from even outside the community has tested positive, we are aware that when people get to the status of being a patient, our people as patients have rights such as under the HIPAA law, again to protect confidentiality and proprietary information. That is essential, but that information is also key to starting to do our process of responding, monitoring, and addressing and resolving some of these COVID-19 situations. I'm going to also now speak to what we've experienced in our community. The impacts to work, in a sense, in some cases, no incomes, furloughs, and social isolation have all tested our families and communities' resilience. We have had to do without and do with what we have, and in some real ways, having to learn survival skills and creativity. Again, we're understanding or learning to understand how important family is and learning to support each other during this time, especially learning to take responsibility for our children and elders in our homes and communities. because of this stay at home and shelter in place and remote work from home. We know that many of us, all of us in a sense, have to eventually come to the home site where we are with our children, our elders, our families, and there's the place where we need to caution each other, but also carry on the values that we know to be our Laguna strengths, to continue to foster those as we spend that time together in the family unit. The worldwide pandemic of the COVID-19 virus does not discriminate, and no one is immune. There is no vaccine, and no one is immune, as we said. And if a vaccine is developed, it will take time for it to reach people throughout the world. Our Pueblo leadership and operations personnel have engaged in the implementation of many of these efforts that I'm expressing again. Our people and their safety, protection, and well-being is foremost. But let me emphasize this. But our people also have to take personal responsibility. We do not advise relaxing or lifting the restrictions that Pueblo Laguna has put in place. This is exposure to our people, and particularly to each other if we are not careful, and may jeopardize the health and safety of our people. Lifting restrictions is not a consideration until it is clearly to a point where there is no longer harm due to infection and the spread of the COVID-19 virus, until this is resolved. Pueblo leadership continues to work and partner with the state and hold the federal government accountable for the trust responsibility to tribes. We are continuing with legislative efforts and advocacy to address immediate needs such as food distribution, broadband access, health supplies, and education so that our tribes are not left out. I want to speak to some of the challenges, and more specific to challenges our students are experiencing trying to comprehend the impacts to their education. Our children, parents, and teachers, administrators are all showing courage, strength, resilience, and teamwork. A major dependence on reliance on broadband and connectivity, if even available, to continue education, work from home, remote work from home, and communications is another of the serious challenges for many households. As I've expressed in this communication, I am going to now conclude with reminders again to adherence and continual practice of precautions and protocols. Again, to emphasize that we cannot relax and not let our guard down. Maintain and exercise the social distancing measures. Adhere to and continue to follow the Pueblo of Laguna Executive Order and the enacted 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew. What we are experiencing here at Pueblo Laguna is commendable, and our people are safe, protected, and have basic essentials. There continue to be food boxes and essential supplies being provided among our communities to those who are especially in need, such as the elders. Again, be grateful for the food boxes. Be grateful for the meals to students and elders, and also for the considerations offered to our Pueblo Laguna workers. Just recently, again, we concluded our first 30-day action that we undertook in regard to our Pueblo Laguna government and operations. I took another action on Friday, April 24th, where I signed a letter for the next 30-day extension of the remote work from home for our Pueblo of Laguna employees. Again, it has required overall our community and government to work together in these efforts to address the health and safety, well-being of our Pueblo Laguna community, and especially our workers. I want to now segue into referring to what we know is out there in the press, out there in our newscast. Amid talks of reopening America and the U.S. government overlooking the projected second wave of the virus, there is still the serious risk of exposure to the COVID-19 virus. All the more reason that these safety measures should not be lifted, and the federal government leadership should not react too early to reopen American businesses. We are seeing in the media that there are these debates ongoing, whether the president and the administration should move to open America and its businesses, but all the cautions are still there. Both sides of the matter need to be taken under consideration. Locally, many of you are aware that in the city of Grants, Mayor Hicks has begun efforts to open up the city of Grants, open up the businesses. And we all hear also that the state of New Mexico, Governor Grisham and her administration are addressing that. We are in support of Governor Grisham's and her administration's efforts to comply with these state orders, federal mandates, our own Pueblo Laguna executive order, that these are important. We need to all continue to support efforts. For the city of Grants, I understand how Mayor Hicks is trying to take care of his community, his city. But we also ask all of you to not react and respond, that because of all that I'm trying to again reemphasize and express our adherence to precaution protocols. Stay home. Don't take these risks. I will encourage very strongly that our community members not go to Grants. Don't expose yourself. We know that to the west of us, they are having a very hard hit. The numbers are large in regard to actual positive cases, even fatalities, deaths. But we know as our neighbors to the west, they do come into the communities such as Grants, and we don't want anyone to be exposed And we're just asking you to be mindful of that, to use your good judgment, use the precautions, and stay home and wait until we do have conclusive assurance that it's safe to go about in other cities, other places. But be safe here at Laguna and exercise that. So in closing, all I want to end with is that what has been handed down in our beliefs, teachings, as foretold by our ancestors, that certain events, illnesses, will be seen and faced by humanity. We are encouraged to be mindful and embrace our belief that we are blessed, protected, and we need to rely on faith and prayer as our strength. I continue to acknowledge our Pueblo of Laguna people, near and far, and encourage all of us to stay focused and be strong together. Maintain and adhere, again, to stay at home, and the closures to visitors and non-residents to our Pueblo, and especially the executive order and the curfew that we've enacted. Continue to offer up prayers for all of humanity, and especially here at our Pueblo of Laguna. You are in our thoughts and prayers day and night. And with that, I ask you to continue to be strong, have faith, continue to be blessed, be safe, and continue to take care of one another. So with that, Sawa Jemisha, Sanu Jemisha. Tawai, okay? Minamayuna, Tik awake Juna. Tawati, yeah, where me het soon the must. The one of us right to Masao Jemisha. Uta two gay nitron as truth. No to two gay task to Sao Jemisha. Haste me gume, get we ox truth. Barshus go money. Gayash and joy shots to Sao Jemisha. Do me Jamie Master School, Shamina. Dawan Daku, Dape.